using my math in the remote classroom. My name is Craig Wilmore. I'm a curriculum specialist for McGraw-Hill Education, and with me is Greg Smith, also a curriculum specialist for McGraw-Hill, and our top senior manager for professional development, DJ Smith. In this session, we are going to assume you all have student and teacher accounts, that you have or want to assign content to students as you are working virtually. We may not be able to cover everything you have right now, but there will be other My Math sessions where those types of questions can be answered. We will try to answer as many questions. DJ?
I can see your screen, Craig.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Let's go
Okay,
for it.
this is the teacher landing page. It's the teacher center. This is where all of you should have access. I am currently in a 3rd grade, and one of the first things we want to make sure that we know is the menu button up in the top left-hand corner. So when I click on the menu button, this gives me all of my resources, all of my information that is available in here. I want to make sure in class management that I have my class in here. And so you can see I've got my list of students listed in here. That will be in that class management. I have to have students in there in order to assign any kind of resource. You also have resources. This is based on your chapter. I've got my drop down of chapter here, and the lesson that I'm currently on. So I'm in chapter 10, lesson 5, which is hands-on fractions on a number line. These are the resources that are available for this lesson that I might be able to go in and assign to my students. So for example, if I am looking down here and I want to send them a homework page here, so I'm going down to this little homework page. At the bottom right hand of this piece is a little cog wheel. When I click this, it allows me the opportunity to assign the resource to my students. When I click on this, it takes me to my Manage and Assign page where I have to give this a title. And I can call this Homework, Chapter 10, Lesson 5. So there I can make, in this Word type document piece, I can ask the students, do this homework as best as you can, and click to send back. It has a start date down here of today's date. Oftentimes, personally, I will go in and I will change that to a day before or a couple of days before so it is automatically available to students. The due date is also today, so I'm going to extend this out till Friday. And the expiration date, I'm going to extend till the 27th of April. Now, who do I want to do this assignment? Well, I would like all of the students in my class to do this. So I'm going to assign all of them. I come up here and look to make sure the attachment, that homework page is here, and I go ahead and click Assign to that. Once I've done, that has now gone into my assignment section. And so when I click on Assignment Tracker, it's going to show all the different types of things. There's that piece I just put in here, a homework, Chapter 10, Lesson 5. So that hamburger menu and that resource menu allows me to identify the resources available in this particular lesson that I can assign to my students to do. You'll also notice here there is this Asteroid Blast, which is a game. One of the nice things about the games, for those of you who do like Google Classroom, I can go into this game, click the cogwheel, and it comes down here, and I can assign it to the class as a resource, but I can also go into and share this with my Google Classroom. So when I do share that with my Google Classroom, it's going to take me in, ask me which class I want. Well, I'm going to choose Wilmore, Wilmore Math, 3rd grade. So I'm going to click that, and I have to choose that action. So this is just an assignment. I'm going to go down here and click Go, and then it's going to ask me a few questions here. I might say, play this game. It's worth, maybe I'm going to say it's worth 20 points. Okay, there's no due date, no topic, so I'm going to just assign that. So this is an opportunity for you to take an assignment that's in My Math, send it into Google Classroom so that your students have access to that. So that's assigning things to the students as we're in there. I next want to drop down here to Plan and Present. So in Plan and Present, it brings me back up here to my Chapter 10 and Lesson 5. This is what we have in our Teacher's Edition. I'm going to expand all here. This is going to show all of the resources that are available in my presentation that I might be doing during my presentation to the students. You'll see that there's quite a few things in here. So maybe I don't want all of that in here. I go up here to my presentation button and I launch the editor button. What this does is it takes me into my presentation mode, and I can see all of the pieces that are part of the My Math learning trajectory, where we launch the lesson, we build the lesson, we're going to practice the lesson, we're going to apply knowledge that we've received, and then we're going to wrap up with our final things. That's a lot of slides in there. So maybe I want to hide some of the slides. You see this little button at the very top right-hand corner. When I click it, it hides the slide and it will not show up in the presentation. Maybe I don't need to have all of the answers in here. Or maybe I want a couple of the slides in the practice, but I don't want all of the slides. And so I can start to hide several of those different slides as I go through, which will minimize my presentation so that I don't have to worry so much about this. Okay? I click out of this, and then I go back to my menu. I go to my home page, and it should take me back to where I was. Now, if you are using Zoom or WebEx or some other form of media to present to your students, I can now click on this Present and launch my customized presentation. That customized presentation opens up in a separate window, and now I can go through that presentation slide by slide, and down in the bottom left-hand corner are my navigation tools. So I have an arrow to go to the beginning, or I have an arrow to go to the next slide. I also have the waffle down here at the bottom that shows all of the slides in the presentation. As I continue moving along, you will find these are all parts of this lesson that students have. There is a writing tool that is available that you can write right on this. And so I might choose to do the text typing tool and say, okay, right here, I'm going to put that's 1. And then down here, this is going to be 1/3. And then when we get to this point, this is going to be that 2, and this is going to be that 2/3. So I have that capability of typing and or free writing if I were to choose this select tool. What this does is it writes on this slide, but it doesn't write anywhere else. So as I move to the next screen, that is gone. It stayed on that screen. So you can run through your presentation, talk with the students as you're going through, and then when you are done, you just click out of that presentation that opened up in that separate window. Again, also in here, you have all the tools, and in here, I've actually assigned this information. I've put it on my calendar. And the way I did that was under the menu, I came down to this Plan and Present, and I added it to my calendar. So this lesson is added to my calendar and added to the calendar of my students so that when they open it up, they know what lesson they're supposed to be on. Okay, back up to my hamburger menu. As we go in here, I want to come down here and I want to show the ETools. So the ETools, you have access to these ETools, but your students also have access to these ETools. They're the virtual manipulatives. It opens up in a brand new window, and the screen looks kind of blank. But down here in the bottom left-hand corner, you have backgrounds. So you have game boards that are available. You also have work mats that are available. And I'm just going to go into one of these work mats, for example, the hundreds, tens, and ones. You will see that we get that hundreds, the tens, and the ones. And one of the tools that we typically use when we're talking about place value, number and operations in base 10, would be base 10 blocks. So I click the tools, I go to that base 10 blocks, and now I have my base 10 blocks over here. When I'm using a screen like this, I typically will choose the small size. So down here, I want to choose small. Otherwise, the flat or the 100 block covers much of the screen. Let's say I want to make 200. So I'm going to click this. How many do I want? I'm going to click 2. I'm going to drag that 100 block up here, and it's going to give me 200s. Let's say I want 5 10s. So I'm going to click 5. I drag the 10 up, and it's going to give me 5 10s. And then maybe I want 3 1s, and I drag 3 up there, and because I have how many? 3, it's going to give me those. When we're teaching things such as subtraction, where we need to regroup a set of 10s, I can bring that set of 10 blocks over into the ones, and you notice there's a little hammer down in the bottom left-hand corner. I click that hammer, and it decomposes that 10. If I want to regroup those, again, I can take all 10 of the blocks, cover them, and it gives me a plus sign, which then allows me to join them together and bring them in. I can do that with the tens, the hundreds, and the thousands block. To get rid of the screen, I click the little X down in the bottom right-hand corner. This gets rid of the background. So it's going to say, are you sure you want to get rid of the background? Yes. Then if I want to get rid of the manipulatives, I can click the little recircle button down at the bottom, and that's going to get rid of those tools. Some of the tools that students will enjoy playing with in here or using are the dice. So when you choose dice, there's a variety of different types of dice that are available. So maybe I want to bring this one up, and maybe I want to bring this crazy looking dice up. I can click on them and I get the roll feature, and students can use this to help them with adding, subtracting, multiplying, and or dividing. Again, to get rid of manipulatives, it's the little recycle button down in the bottom right-hand corner. That will clear the tools that you have in there. Again, tools opens up in a separate window, so you want to close that out. And then I'm back into my course. One of the last things that I want to show in this part before going on and logging in as a student to see what is in there would be the assessments. So we have two different kinds of assessments within here. You have online assessments and you have print assessments. If I go to that print assessment, they are written out by chapter. So I know I'm in chapter 10. Here are all the different types of assessments that are available, including answer keys. So you will see the pre-test, you will see vocabulary test, you'll see chapter tests. There will be a variety of these types of tests. And so as I go into this chapter test, this is 3B. Up here, there's a chapter test that's 2A. And I go a little bit further, here's chapter test 1A. The difference between these tests is that 1A and 1B are going to be all multiple choice. 2A and 2B or 1A and 1B are going to be a mix of multiple choice and open response. And then 3A and 3B are going to be more of that essay type questions. So these are all of your assessments in print format. These can be assigned to your class. Now, I want to go into the assessments that are online. One of the questions that many teachers say is that students have a difficult time writing in their practice pages in their books digitally and in their homework digitally. Please know that all of your practice pages and your homework pages for your students are available in the Online Assessment Center. And so when they open that up, they can take them. It's like taking an assessment, but it's doing their homework in an easier format where they answer the multiple choice questions. The way we get there is we go to our menu, we go to Assessments, Online Assessments. That will load up into our assessment suite here. You then need to go to My Test Library. So I'm going to go to My Test Library. And then I go to My Test. Now I'm in third grade and I want my third grade English version because we also do have this in Spanish. So I'm going to click that. And what this does is it opens up all of the different assessments, including all these spiral reviews. So you've got a spiral review, you have Check My Progress. As I work through towards the latter part of this, I'm going to find, as I click the arrows down here at the bottom, I'm going to find chapter tests. As I continue going, you will eventually get to where you're going to see the homework and the practice. So here I have chapter 13. I want to get beyond chapter 13. I want to get closer to chapter 10 where I'm at. So here's chapter 10, lesson 5, homework. Well, maybe I want to assign that homework because that's what we're in today. So I come over here to the little cogwheel. That cogwheel opens up and I can do a couple of things. I can copy the test. I can assign the test. I can print it. I can preview. If you want to make any changes to a test or a practice or a homework, you must make a copy of it. That's so that we maintain the integrity of the material in the McGraw-Hill My Math system. I'm just fine with the homework as it is, so I'm going to assign this to my class. I click Assign to Class. It's going to bring up, this is what we're doing, Chapter 10, Lesson 5 homework for my third grade math students. I'm going to assign it to the class, and then that is now assigned to my class. And you can see all of the assessments and or practice and homework that I have assigned to my students through this digital assessment system. It is really helpful for teachers because if you have a lot of students, it will actually grade the assessments that are multiple choice or technology enhanced questions for you so that you have less that you have to do. As I look at this, I'm going to go in and check to see if any of my students have answered. So I've got this spiral review. I'm going to go in and click the cogwheel and view the results. And in there, oh, I can see some of my students have actually finished this. And so I've got these students that have completed this assessment. That's great, okay? I go back to my assigned tests. That way, I have an idea. I have this one right here that says M. That's saying there's something that I have to manually go in and look at because a student has taken the test and I need to look at that. So I'm going to go in here to that student. I'm going to look at their score sheet so that I can identify what I need to do to give that child a score. So it's going to open up. I go down until I see where it is that student is. I think it's the last one on this particular assessment. And there it is right there. Okay, it doesn't have any points. The student had to do this multiplication using the commutative property, and they had to find the mistake. Okay, so she wrote here 4 times 12 equals 3. And so there's 3 parts to this. What mistake did Joanne make? Write the correct answer. And what property of multiplication is being shown here? Well, this student wrote she did the total in the second picture in the middle. I'm assuming she means right here, instead of the answer at the end, which probably I think would be here. 3 times 4 is 12, and 4 times 3 equals 12. It's the commutative property. I think she did fine, so I'm going to come up here. I'm going to type the number 1 in there to give her a score. Go back up to the top, and that has been taken care of. Now I close out of that, and it takes me back to my online assessment system here. Okay, and I no longer have that M in that spiral review anymore. Okay, so that has been taken care of. Now I'm noticing something here up at the top. See this little envelope up there? That means a student has sent me a message. So as I go down to my messages, I can click on there and I see, oh, I have a message from a student. So I click on that, and this student has said, Mr. Wilmore, my 2 brothers have to use the computer at the same time you have the Zoom class. Can you record the session so I can watch it when it is my turn on the computer? Thank you. And so I can respond to that student and I can say, yes, I record all the sessions so you can watch them again and again. I will send that back. That way now the student will have that message when they log in. Okay, now I want to go in and log in as a student in this class. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to log in to my I'm going to log in as a student in this class. And I'm going to choose student number 1. And I'm going in as a 2 and as a lemon and as a diamond here. And I'm going to log in. And this is what a student is going to see when they'll log in here. So I see McGraw-Hill, My Math, grade 3. I launch that, and it's going to bring me in here, and you notice I have a video I'm supposed to watch down here. So this is my to-do list and that's due by Wednesday, the 22nd of April. As I go in, the students have an ebook. So I'm just going to open up this ebook. That opens up in a separate page. As I open that ebook, I want to go to chapter 10. So I'm going to go to chapter 10, click on the drop-down of the lessons, and I'm going to go to lesson 5, fractions. And in here now, I have the capability of a student. So if I want to make this a little bit larger so it's easier for me to write on, I can come in here and I can use my pen tool up here at the top. I have 4 different colors to choose from. So I have a black pen, an orange pen, a green, and a blue pen. I'm going to choose that green pen for today. And down here it says, what fraction do the first 2 shaded areas represent together? So the first 2 shaded areas there would represent, and I'm going to write 2/3. Okay? I'm not the best writer on my mouse pad. What fraction do all 3 shaded areas represent? Well, that would be 3 3/3. Okay? Maybe I want to change colors now, so I'm going to go to that orange color. 1/3 is equal to what? 1 part. 2/3 is equal to 2 parts. And 3/3 would be equal to 3 parts. Okay? I go up, I click the arrow to get back to where I can manipulate the page, take it back down to a normal size, and notice those shrink to the size of the page. We navigate in the student edition with the right arrow. We go over, here is the rest of that, here's your talk about it, and then we go to our practice page. So here is that practice page. But remember, that's a lot of writing for students to do, where these practice pages are also found in the assessment section. So I'm now going to go up here. I'm going to click back into my student page, and I'm going to go up here to my menu to show you what they have. They have their resources, any homework that I have assigned, and any assessments that I've given them, as well as they also have an e-tool kit right there. So as I go up here, I'm going to click on homework to see what I have asked the students to do in here. Oh, so due on Wednesday of this week, they need to watch this video for extra support on the lesson. So what they can do is they can click on the little cogwheel and open the resource. It will open that video. Okay, they can watch that video, and then they can say, okay, I watched it, I'm done with that. That now is completed. I also have, see, this is homework history, things that they've already done or should have done. Now I have my homework page that I assigned. So I go in, I can click on this, open the resource. It's going to open up as a PDF in this version. This is why I like going into the online version to do it with the assessment suite. I'm just going to click that I'm done with that for right now. But I have due later. These are things that are due later. Oh, there's that game I assigned. So now I can go in, I can play this game over and over and over again, which is going to build that mathematical fluency and fact practice. Now,
Craig?
Yes.
One of the questions that we received in the chat window was specifically around students using writing in the ebook, as you were just doing. Can you share ideas around how teachers remotely might be able to see what students, is that a possibility?
Yes.
What students have written in their ebooks?
Yeah. And one of the things that I have found, thank you, Greg, for bringing that up. One of the things I have found is McGraw-Hill has a free app that is available for iPads and iPhones that is just the ConnectEd mobile app. Students can open up their student edition in there, and they can pinch the screen open to make it a lot larger, and then with their finger, it's easier to write on the screen and then save it. But as a teacher, what I'm going to need to do is I come up here, I go to my Connect Ed because I have to go into the Student Center now as a teacher. So I'm going to go to all of my content. Wow, I've got a lot of content here. And I'm going to go down here to where you should all have both the McGraw-Hill My Math Teacher Edition and the McGraw-Hill My Math Student Edition. I'm now going to go into that Student Edition that is attached to my pages here. I'm going to take this down to my Chapter 10 and my Lesson 5, which is that hands-on. And now, as I go in here, I click on the ebook. When I go into this ebook, it now brings up that lesson. And up here in the top left-hand corner, you see this little people person that says review. I click on that, and it's going to say, well, I've got 2 classes in here. I've got my Box Elder 3rd grade and Wilmore Wizards 3rd grade. I'm going to go Box Elder because that's where I had that first student. When I click on Student 1, notice those numbers that I just wrote in there are right here. So whatever the student has written in this section, I can see it real time by going into that Student Center and then going into the ebook. So this is a way that if students are using iPads, their phones, they're using Chromebooks, they're using the family computer at home, they can write in here and I can see what they have been writing by using this tool up here. When I do the drop down, you can see these are all the students. Well, I know that I had another student in here, student number 2, if I can find student number 2, also did some writing. So there, that student also did some writing in here. So I can go down and I can look at every single child in my classroom and the work that they have been doing in this ebook. Okay? So this, because it's an ebook, it opens up in a separate window, but it also has all the tools down here at the bottom. So for example, something to watch, that's going to pop up as something new. Here's that thing that I had already assigned them. Okay? I go down here, I've got the virtual manipulatives, the tools. I have any games that they might play that are particular to this lesson. As I continue going through these pages, I'm looking still at the pages for Box Elder Student 2. Okay, so that is taking a look at, as a student fills in that student page, where does it go? So remember, when you're in a student center, you go to the ebook, and then you go to the page, and you can find what the students have done. I do want to go in and show that I saw the homework, but I also had an assessment. Yeah, we don't have that in here right at the moment. Let me go back out here. Oh, let's see. I want to go back in as my student. That's where we were. Sorry. I'm back in as my student. Okay, so this is student, Box Elder student number 1. And let me just take this national demo online that I created. I made it from scratch. I'm going to take this test now as student number 3. And it's going to open up. It's going to ask me, do you want to start? And this one has, I believe, 3 questions. Let's go up here and take a look. 3 questions. Here's some of the capabilities of the system. This one is a drag and drop. So it's a technology enhanced question that I created. So we're looking for the answer to match each definition with a word. Be sure to check your answer carefully. Well, the denominator would be, I would say, the number of pieces that make up the whole. Okay? The numerator would be the number on top. No, that doesn't make sense. The number on top and on the bottom. No. The number of represented parts. That sounds right. So I'm going to put that up there. And then I've got add, finding, putting together. That sounds correct. And then subtraction, finding the difference. So I'm going to say that's good. We have one left over, so that must be a distractor question. I go to my next question. It says, on a camping trip, a scout troop caught a total of 154 fish. They threw some back that were too small. After cooking, I'm just going to guess. Okay, I'm just going to guess something. I'm going to put it right there. Save and continue. And then we have Philip is planting a garden and wants to plant equal rows of 9 plants in each row. He has 36 plants. So I'm going to have to put in here 36 divided by 9 is equal to how many are going to be there? Well, then that would be 4, I'm thinking. So I'm thinking in my head. I'm going to save and continue and finish and turn that in. So a student can go in here and then they can see their results. And so, 75%. Where did I go wrong? Oh, I didn't get that one right. There was 2 right answers in there, okay? So then I go up, I close out of that. So that is what it looks like to take an assessment on the student's end. Now, see, they've got their result right here. They've got 75%, okay? They can go back anytime they want and view their results.
Hey, Craig.
So, yep.
Hey, this is great stuff. I just wanted to let you know that we have about 15 minutes left in our time this morning. Mm-hmm. One of the items that we're seeing in the chat screen is being able to. We need to probably look at my math and specifically assessment from an earlier copyright. So e-assessment.
Oh, e-assessment. Okay.
And so if we'd be able to switch, right. So,
you bet.
So one of the things that we're seeing in the chat is that not all of everybody who's on our webinar this morning has the same edition that you're working through right now. So maybe we could just talk about some of the differences.
Yes, and so you have all of the same capabilities. It just looks a little bit, well, I guess I don't know my own password, do I? That never happens to anybody. Okay, so as I come down here, I'm going to look for my math, and I'm going to look for my older version. That's right there. Okay, so I'm going to go into the same thing, 3rd grade, and show that it's the same questions. It's just a little bit different format of how we go in. And so if I look at this and I go to that chapter 10, which was fractions, and then I look at that hands-on. So the material is going to be the same. The presentation is going to be the same. It's the only thing that's different is the assessment suite. So when I go into the assessments, it's now going to have all of those assessments like we saw in the print, but now I have to go up here to the e-assessment in there. And that opens up what I call my big blue background. And here's where I'm going to have all of my capabilities, okay? So I've got test generator up in the top right-hand corner. I have classes and assignments, and I have reporting. Right now we're in that test generator, so I'm going to come down here to my e-assessment 3rd grade. I'm going to click on there, and I'm going to drop down to where it says my chapter 10 fractions. I go into my chapter 10 fractions, and here are all of my opportunities, including my practice and my homework. So if you remember, I had assigned my students that homework of the lesson 5. If I want to see that, I just click it and drag it into the big blue space and drop it. It's going to open up, and here is what they see in their student edition. That is the one I want. And so for me to assign that to the students, I have to come up to the test generator, choose my class. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to choose my class, and let's see, Wilmore 3rd grade. We're going to drag my Wilmore 3rd grade over in here. And I am going to come back down to my assessment. First of all, I have to make a new assessment. So I'm going to call this Homework, Chapter 10, Lesson 5. and I'm going to select the test. So here's where I come into my e-assessment. I'm going to go in there. I drop all the way down to my chapter 10. It's already opened up because I had it open. And I'm going to go to this homework right there. I highlight it. I click OK. This is not a test. It is homework. Okay, so I'm going to change that category. Then I go ahead and click Next. This is my student that's in this class. I only have one student in this one. I'm going to click Next. I can leave this as limitless. They have unlimited amount of time to take the test, but they can only take it one time, or the homework. So now I click Next, and Finish, and that has been assigned to the students. It's just as easy in this 2013 version to assign work to my students as it is in the previous version. Hopefully that helped answer that question as far as we did assessments in the newer version, and now I've shown you how you can do the homework and or any assessments in this.
Yeah, good stuff, Craig. Hey, this is a question that we get all the time, and if you could just, this is still an e-assessment question.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes when we drag over the assessment into the big blue background, we see the answers.
Yes.
Can you just go ahead and click on that eye and show how to turn off the answers in that mode?
Okay, so we're going to take the assessments in here, go down here to chapter 10. Okay, and we'll just take any one of these and drag it up here. Okay. And so you see up here you've got the answer right there. We are just showing right now what it looks like for the teacher. So this is kind of like the teacher version. As I click on up here, I'm not sure what your
click on the blue circle, the eye in the blue circle. And see, it says answers are clicked on. Yeah. And now the answers go. Yeah. So it's just as simple. It's automatically set to show the answers in this teacher view. The answers don't go out to students, but I know sometimes teachers, and this was a question we had in the chat screen, is how do we get rid of that answer because they're trying to look at exactly what students will see. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it would just be up in here. But you also have the opportunity to go in and, I mean, you can duplicate or you can edit questions if you want to delete a question. You want to duplicate it, but you want to add more to it. You can do all of that within the e-assessment here. So either one of the assessment systems, you have the capability of editing those assessments. Okay. Since we are close to coming down, are there some additional questions that have been coming up that I might be able to answer, or Greg, that you would like to share with the whole group?
Yeah, so we've really answered most of everything. I've been replying to a lot of folks via the chat screen. One thing that we do want to talk about real quickly, and I'm sorry, I'm reading something that just came in. So just, Craig, if you could, one thing is talk about real quickly about iPads again, just accessing the iPad and the ConnectEd app. And number two, we want to make sure that folks know how to access the professional learning environment within MyMath so that they can, view the Quick Start Guide and view all of those resources for PD.
Okay, very good. The big difference between the 2013 version of MyMath, so the one that I'm in currently right now, oftentimes when I open up the ebook, it's going to require Flash. And so it doesn't work extremely well on iPads. However, the newer version of it does work on iPads very nicely. And so you can, because the newer versions are written in HTML5, they work better on those handheld digital devices. And so that would probably be the biggest difference, biggest challenge that you would have using an iPad. The other part that Greg was talking about, you're about to say something, Greg?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Professional development. And so within your menu button up here, so when you click on the menu and you go down, you will have a button that's called Professional Development. And in here, you have this Professional Development Implementation Support. And so you will have this Quick Start course that when I open it up, it's going to provide me with a variety of different tools. So I've got this Get Started. You will see these are all videos because they have the little play button by them. So My Math Program, that's 3 minutes and 35 seconds and 2 minutes and 57 seconds. Then I have a PDF for setting up. Then I have How Do I Plan? So here are some things that are part of my planning, my accessing and customizing presentations. Here's some professional development on teaching. And then here are some tools for assessments on there. Okay, so those are pieces that are part of that professional development menu that you have. And then you also have this implementation course. Again, all of these are tools for plan your way, teach your way, assess your way. So different ways that you might be able to go in and do assessments, whether you are a one-on-one digital type person, or some of your students like to have hard copies that they can print at home. You can do the printed tests. They can scan them in once they've done them and send them back as an attachment to you. There's a variety of different videos that are available for you, including content videos. So you've got these content videos that are available to talk a little bit more about math talk, mathematical discourse, those types of things that will help you.
A couple other things that are coming in here last minute, Craig. One of them is certainly around Google Classroom, and so this is for everybody because I see a few questions like this in the chat box. It is recommended that your students be logged in either via their usernames and passwords or via single sign-on to their MyMath space prior to accessing an assignment via Google Classroom. If students are already active in their Student Center and they click on the assignment that you've given via MyMath in Google Classroom, they should have no problems getting directly to there.
Correct.
And you've seen, it showed you that in resources, when you're assigning, you can certainly assign or share via Google Classroom, and your students will then have a direct link into that resource. But it is recommended that you have MyMath open first prior to accessing the Google Classroom. Craig, can you talk at all? Is there a professional learning video that speaks specifically to adding student content to their classroom? So one of our viewers has loaded students in, but her students don't seem to have usernames and passwords. And so we're wondering if you could, is there a professional learning video that we could point to, or a resource we could point to, just about managing classrooms, managing your classroom details and content?
Yeah, the part I would go into it would be possibly the implementation course here, which is going to be getting started, the Student Center overall view, and the Teacher Center overall view. But then again, I may go back.
So Craig?
Yep.
I would also recommend, even before you log in on the login screen, that help menu at the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Has specific videos and PDFs to show them how to set up a class and how to add students. That's really helpful for this part.
Yeah. So,
so just at your help down at the bottom.
So the help button, and this is going to take us into all of this. So getting started, product and navigation, users, login, passwords. These types of things are tools that you'll be able to use. I've been using simplified login. Some of you may like simplified logon. Some of you are using single sign-on. And so you have Clever, or you have Google, or you have some other type of single sign-on. So these are tools that will help you as you're going in. So you just choose your platform that you're going to be using, and then it's going to give you that information to help you.
And as we're finishing up, Craig, if you could go back to the one of our screens in our slide deck that was at the very beginning that provides some information. Folks can either take a screen capture of that slide or write down this information.
This one?
Yes, yes, sir. So this is exactly where Craig just was, tech support and a phone number. McGraw-Hill is very fortunate to have a fantastic technical support component, very willing to help you, very willing to get on the phone call. But also, if you follow the MHEDU URL that you see there under Digital Technical Support, you'll have access to a wide array of issues. We've got a couple questions about making sure, checking in on usernames and student names. There are even answers here around Google Classroom and how to make sure that Google Classroom is synced up and everything else. So this is a great resource.
Okay. And then any other last minute questions? We've hit the hour mark.
We are good. I think this last piece around making sure that we provided that technical support will take care of most of the questions. Some of them are very, very particular questions that I can answer here on the chat. Okay. But that technical support line will help the vast majority of folks get them and their students exactly where they need to go.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure sharing a little bit of my math with you. Stay tuned because there will be additional webinars based around virtual learning.
Say that again.
And Craig, just so everybody on the call knows, we will actually send an email out within 24 to 48 hours that will have the recording along with this. So that should be helpful for any of you that want to go back and review it.
All right, perfect. Thank you, everybody.
Hey guys, big thanks to you. Thanks, Craig, and thanks, Greg, for really hosting this and working them all through this.
Our pleasure. I'm answering a few last minute questions here, DJ, on the. So sorry, I'm going to make sure I answer as many questions as I can in the chat.
I really appreciate that, Greg. So we won't end it until you get done with those.
All right, thanks. Okay, I think we're all set.
All right. I see a couple of hands raised.